You are listening to The World as I See It podcast. 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 As I See It podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The World as I See It podcast. You know, we spend a lot of time on this podcast answering the questions that you have about blindness and how I see the world. But today, we're flipping the script. Today, we're going to talk about the truly confusing thing to me. And this may surprise you, because we're talking about the sighted world. I'm checking out the little things that you sighted people do every day that just make me stop and think to myself, wait, why do you do that? This is just my honest, funny thoughts on the world as you see it. It's a great chance to talk about the little details that show how different our experiences really are. But first, I always want to hear from you. I need your questions, your feedback, and your ideas. You are not going to offend me, so please tell me what you think. Don't wait until the end. The best way to join the conversation and send me anything is by email. The email address is theworldasIseeitpodcast@gmail.com. If you have something to tell me, pause the show, send your email, and then keep listening. I read every single message, and your idea might just be the focus of a future episode. Alright, let's get into the first confusing thing. A lot of sighted people, they talk with their hands all the time, and that's fine. I know when you're talking with your hands because I can hear the jingle of their jewelry or the rustle of their sleeve as they're talking with their hands. But the truly weird thing for me is when I have to talk with my hands. When I used to do cheer, we were learning a new cheer or a dance. I would have to make these big visual arm movements, and for me, it felt so awkward and frustrating to perform those actions because I have no way of knowing if I'm even doing the motion correctly. You know, how can I trust my arms in the right place if I can't see them? If I can't see what I'm supposed to be doing? It's confusing because, it's an energy drain dedicated to a visual effect that means nothing to me. Yet, I have to rely completely on someone else to confirm if my body is in the right place, or whoever is teaching me to make sure that my body is in the right position. And I don't mind doing these hand movements. It's just super confusing and it's super awkward sometimes because I never truly know if it's correct. Whereas you can look, while you're learning a dance to make sure your arms are correct, whereas I can't. So, they have to make sure that it's correct. And sometimes it's just super awkward for me. So the next one is I have decorative items myself, and I love them. But I keep mine organized and out of the way. My confusion is with the places like restaurants or some homes that have the decorative furniture and clutter placed right in the middle of the walking path. I use my cane, and I understand that it may look aesthetic for, pictures. But when it's a big, bulky piece of art or just a strangely placed chair, it's a huge, I don't want to say tripping hazard because I do use my cane to navigate, but it's a big obstacle that I have to go around. And I'm just like, why? Why do you like decorative clutter so much? Does the visual appeal really outweigh the safety risk? I don't understand why the visual look is, prioritized over the safety and logical, not even the safety part of it, just like I'm less concerned about like safety and just more of the logical flow of the physical space. This is a failure of design that it relies entirely on sight. I'm constantly confused by websites, apps, and household machines that use only blinking lights or a silent progress bar to confirm that a task is complete. Without an auditory cue or sound effect, I'm just left frustrated and unsure if the button press was actually registered and if the machine actually works. Why do designers create systems that require continuous visual, monitoring when a simple beep or chime would instantly confirm success with everyone? This is a moment a sighted person sees my cane. They immediately lean into the person next to them to whisper, I just want to know. I just want y'all to know. I can hear you. And it's deeply confusing why you think whispering is necessary. As if my cane also makes me deaf. This habit is frustrating because instead of just asking a direct question or offering help, you create an awkward public, spectacle that draws more attention than necessary. What are you worried about? I'm right here. Please, if you want to meet me, say hi. Just ask what my name is. Now, if you don't know how to interact, like you want to meet me and you don't know my name but you want to meet me, just like tap me on the shoulder or be like, hey, what's your name? Just speak directly to me. That is one of my biggest pet peeves, is when I'm with somebody and they don't speak to me directly. Next, you're walking down the street, and if you are using your phone, you're just staring straight down. You have the gift of sight, yet you choose to ignore the world around you to focus on a small screen, essentially making yourself blind to your surroundings. It's incredibly frustrating and honestly just kind of confusing to then have sighted people complain or get annoyed when a blind person, they move slowly or bump into them because they themselves aren't looking where they're going. If you have sight, why not use it to look up, not at a glowing rectangle in your hand? I get asked this all the time. I can't find the butter. They swear it's not there. They've checked everywhere and they need help. And this is like my favorite one. I don't understand it. I open the fridge and guess what? It's right there. Front and center. Completely obvious, which is genuinely confusing because this shows where sight seems to fail people. The concept of looking but not seeing is so wild, as I rely on tactile memory and organization, which, in my opinion, far more reliable than your eyes just happening to glance in the right spot, but you're not seeing it. How often does your sight just fail you? I constantly hear instructions like, just look over there, or it's that blue thing next to the red one. This is frustrating because it forces me to, politely stop you and translate your visual world into my world every single time. Why do you rely on colors or sight when you could use clear and universal directions that would get the point across immediately to anyone? Or another confusing thing is like when they just point. They don't say anything, they just point to where it is. I can't see that, in case you didn't know, so have to be more clear about that. Anyway, it's a clear communication that's easier than constantly just, is it easier than just pointing, or is pointing easier? I'm just generally curious. Everything is color coded. You buy a green milk, you use red and blue folders, and you organize papers with yellow sticky notes. Color is a primary organization tool, and it completely fails me, which is frustrating because it's a solution, that doesn't work. They use it a lot, but it's a universal problem. This design choice means that I have to spend extra mental energy to label, texture, or memorize the precise location of every single thing that sighted people solve with a quick glance at a color. Why isn't there a better system that works for everyone? Maybe I can come up with something. I don't know. It's just a thought. This is subtle but confusing. Conversational habit. So I'll be talking to someone and I can hear they've gone completely silent, only to have them finally say, yeah, I was nodding. I know they were trying to be polite and show they were listening by nodding their head, but for me, that's just silence. It's frustrating because a silent visual cue, it breaks the conversational flow and forces me to ask if they're still there, when a simple would have solved everything. Did you know that nodding makes you completely disappear from the conversation for me? Because I don't know if you're there. Finally, we have the useless warning. When I'm walking towards something, I hear someone yell, "Watch out!" or "Look out!" The problem is, by the time the sound registers and my brain processes what the warning is, 99% of the time, I've usually already walked into the thing. This is confusing and frustrating because a generic warning just raises my anxiety level without providing any useful information. If you want to help, you need to use clear language like stop, 2 feet left. Why do you rely on a word that gives me zero direction? Because I don't know if it's left, right, behind me, I need the clear language. I hope that this has been fun. Remember, this is just me sharing some funny observations about the habits of the sighted world. It's a reminder that we all navigate the world with different information, and the things one person takes for granted are entirely invisible to another. So, let's keep the conversation going. I want to hear from all of you on this. If you are sighted, which of these 10 weird habits do you realize you do all the time, and why? If you are blind, what's the funniest or most confusing thing a sighted person has ever done to try and help you? Tell me your stories. The best way to join the conversation and send me any show ideas, feedback, or questions is to email me at theworldasIseeitpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious and keep listening.
You've been listening to the World as I See It podcast.